Collecting as a hobby. Collecting is a wide field in the world of hobbies. It can be about almost anything you can think of. It's each person's preference and taste that dictates what he or she would want to collect if you are inclined to collect at all. Many people do not understand why some choose to collect things, and collectors don't understand why some people don't collect anything, as they feel it enriches their lives. They feel a sense of purpose or meaning in the act of collecting, as it gives them something to do in their spare time besides watching TV or just surfing the web. Although it must be said, the occurrence of the internet has changed the world of collecting worldwide. What had to be sourced through magazines, newspaper ads, or at swap meets, flea markets, and auctions earlier, can now be found online at the click of a button. Whether it be online auctions or ads on social media, it is easier now than ever to find that elusive object that you miss in your collection. To the average person, it might seem like a big waste of both time and money, but to a collector, every day is like a treasure hunt. You never know when or where that piece you miss in your collection might show up. It can also be very social. Even after everyone turned to the internet for collectibles, there are still plenty of markets and events where you can indulge in your hobby, and also catch up with other like-minded people who have the same interest as you. The main categories of collecting. Collecting can be divided into two main categories. Collecting just for your personal satisfaction, or collecting as an investment option. The two categories have similarities, but also differences. When collecting for your personal satisfaction, it's all about what you are interested in collecting, and less about the market, and even the condition of the objects, even though most people want nice examples of what they collect. Since it most likely will be with you for most of your life if you are an avid collector, the purchase price might come secondary if it is an object you desire. Also, when collecting for personal satisfaction, the subject matter of your collection can be totally personal, based on your interests and taste. When it comes to collecting as a form of investment, the rules are slightly different. Obviously, you will still want to collect something you are interested in, but there might be more of a limitation in regard to what is a hot thing to collect in the market. Also, you have to take into consideration if the category of objects that you wish to collect is one that has the potential to grow in value over the years. The investment side of collecting might be highly specialized, with narrow niches. Usually what goes up in value are things that are well made and maybe have been made with precious materials, or with strong designer names attached to them. Also a strong provenance, that is, the history and previous owners of a piece is part of what makes a piece valuable, and also the level of scarcity comes into play. These kinds of things rarely lose value over time. There might be dips in the market based on trends, but generally, items with great quality or famous names attached to them tend to hold their value over time. The condition of the object is also imperative when collecting as an investment. Unless the object is one of a kind or extremely scarce, you should look for the best possible example. Flaws and repairs might have a devastating effect on investment pieces. In recent years, the occurrence of vast amounts of copies and cheap knockoffs has surfaced. Although nothing new, copying potentially valuable, collectible pieces is now a plague in the collector's world. Seasoned collectors might be able to tell the real deal from the imposters, but people new to the collecting scene should take heed, as there are also well-made copies out there. Pieces that might even fool an experienced collector. Also, you would obviously want to keep a keen eye on the purchase price if it is bought for the sole purpose of making a profit. Very expensive objects and collections tend to be tucked away from most people in the privacy of incognito. Well-to-do collectors and investors who might keep their precious objects in bank vaults or behind high-security systems. An ordinary collection, for personal satisfaction, is usually a bit more accessible, as many collectors are only too keen and happy to show their collection and talk about it when they finally find someone who takes an interest in their collection. Trends and changes. Although many objects hold their value or even go up in value, there are some areas of collecting that might have lost their mass appeal over the years. On the other hand, as new and younger collectors enter the playing field, new niches, not necessarily thought of as being collectibles, suddenly might take off in the market. A lot has to do with what people grew up with as kids. As a child, you might have dreams about certain objects or toys, but they might be out of reach for you at that time. As people grow up and get a job, they might suddenly find themselves in a financial situation that allows them to indulge in childhood dreams. This is especially true in the toy collecting world. But it can even be true in the car collecting world, or other niches for that matter. A certain toy or car, or anything else, might stand out and make a great impression in a young mind when you were a child, and even years later, you might carry the thought of that object in your memory. All the way up until you finally have the means to acquire it yourself. This is how there might occur some generational gaps in the collector's market from time to time. This might be an important factor to consider if collecting is an investment. For example, collecting stamps used to be a very big hobby worldwide. But in more recent years, fewer and fewer stamp collectors are out there, and the stamp collecting hobby is somewhat in decline now, compared to just a few years back. This might be because stamp collecting requires patience, and people of today have a very short attention span and very little patience. On the other hand, younger collectors might remember some plastic toys from the 80s and start collecting that. This is something that has taken place, so that one can see that toys or other objects from the near past that were considered common or mundane at that time are now becoming hot commodities in the collector's market. Another example of this is the rising value and renewed interest in older tech goods such as computers or game systems. Different niches of collecting. As mentioned in the beginning, the niches of collecting are almost limitless. Personal, but quite common categories to collect might be sports cards or sports memorabilia, Hollywood and film memorabilia, Star Wars and other pop culture spin-off objects, toys, autographs of famous people, vinyl records, antiques in all sizes and shapes, vintage or retro objects, weapons, World War I and II artifacts, vintage clothing, art, and curios to name but a few. When it comes to investment collectibles, some niches are rare classic and exotic automobiles, high-precision handmade watches, diamonds and jewelry, vintage vines and whiskeys, designer bags, fine art, very rare historical pieces, high-end antiques, rare coins, and Chinese porcelain. Conclusion. If you are an avid collector, you probably know most of this stuff, but for you out there who are yet to start collecting, we hope this video has made you a bit wiser and savvier about the collecting scene. We also hope that this film has inspired you to start collecting, as it is a great pastime hobby. The main thing to keep in mind when collecting is to have fun doing it. We hope you enjoyed this film, and we will follow up with a deeper dive into different categories and niches of collecting on this channel later. So stay tuned, and hit the subscribe button if you want to learn more about this fascinating and multifaceted hobby, lifestyle.